All right. As always, there's so much. I could make this a 2-week. Every week I do so. That could be a 2-week lecture because there's always the theoretical aspect of things, and then there's the, well, what do you really do to them when you get out in the field? You know, what should you be looking for? And it's kind of odd that sometimes the focus isn't on that. And so I really like to focus on that, but we always have to cover the theory, which is what your testing is on. So I've got a lot written down, but we'll just kind of hit some of the highlights. Just because I don't write it down doesn't mean you don't have to write it down. All right, so troubleshooting. Customer says, man, I just have so much fight. Ever since my last annual, or ever since or this, or I have a lot of vibration in my engine. And the question is always, how long have you had that vibration? And they say something to the effect of, ever since the last annual, ever since some maintenance was performed, ever since I had my, it's like Tyler. Tyler says to me, ever since I had the starter changed. So it vibrate. Why is it vibrating? Because the starter changed. What's out of balance? Everything's out of balance. Tyler, it's your plane. Any thoughts? Was that a tough one?
You don't know your own plane?
When does it vibrate? Only when the starter
No.
planes?
As he's flying it, and the higher the RPM, the worse it gets.
Starter loose.
Maybe.
Yeah. Key in on the starter. In order to change the starter on his plane, you need to take the prop off.
Like we're gonna know his plane.
Huh?
I said like we're gonna know his plane.
He knows his plane.
Right?
So he's got like a Cherokee. So I always, think about something like that. Well, you have to take the propeller off, and now it suddenly started vibrating after the prop was taken off and back on. What do you think could happen? Stalled at 180 degrees off. So, all right, there's one. You can write that down if you want. Try rotating 180. Maybe that'll go out. I've seen that cure most vibrations. Also, make sure it's installed correctly. Go to top center. Is it actually keyed in the right way? Maybe it was a one bolt hole off, and that's not happy for the aircraft.
Maybe it was a wood prop and they torqued it in the wrong pattern, or
Over torqued a wood prop, wrong pattern. So how would we verify that? Tracking. Okay. So we're good. So we got rotate 180. Check the torque. Check tracking. Speaking of wood props, maybe a customer has a wood prop. Yeah, and it shakes. And the higher the RPM, the worse it gets, right? Keying on that, higher the RPM, the worse the shaking is going to get. Remember I told you about that test club I bought that was off a little bit? Boy, the guy I worked with, he was very colorful in the way he would say things. It shook like a dog passing a peach pit. You get the visual, right? So shake it a lot. So, I should mute it for my next one, but I'll tell you later. So anyway, so the higher the RPM, the worse the shake's going to get. So this particular engine that we had built, boy, the guy who sent to run it said, "Yeah, I tried to run it faster." I'm like, "Why would you do that?" It's really, it was going to shake the airplane apart. Yeah, I bet it was. All right. So anyway, with the wood prop, how are you supposed to store it?
horizontal.
Horizontal. What if the owner doesn't know that? They're leaving it in the stopping position or vertical. Moisture. Yeah. So how do you correct that? Yeah, it's a drill holes, 1/2-inch holes right through the blade. Let that water drain out. Make sure you save the plugs. You got to put it back in. Animals are glue. Well, you can turn the blade around the other way. So put the heavy blade up, let it slide down. Serious, actually, or take it off and dry it in a room. Let it get dry.
Put it in like an oven or something like that.
Well, if you have an oven big enough for a 70-some inch prop, yeah. Put it in a pizza oven. So you go down to Blaze Pizza and you're like, "I'd like a pepperoni, and can you just put this in there for just 5 minutes?" All right? When you see the varnish start to bubble, pull it out. All right, so there's some troubleshooting ideas. And again, these are fixed pitch, right? If we get into constant speed, things are a little more complicated. And should I write the bolt size is not the The wrench size is not the bolt size. I can't even say it right now. Because we did have a graduating mechanic working on the Cherokee out there and came to me and said, it's just, the bulkhead is really getting smashed out of place when I torque it. Well, I mean, they get, it's aluminum and you're tightening it. And I went out there and I'm looking, wow, boy, you really did smash that bulkhead. How much you torquing it to? And the number that I was given was like, 1,500 inch-pounds. I'm like, what? Well, the socket is a 3/4 inch socket and 3/4 inch torque is like 1,700 pounds. I'm like, oh, God. Yeah, it smashed it all right. Repairs. All right, you have to be very careful with repairing propellers. So 14 CFR 65, what is that?
Minor alterations.
FAR 65. Mechanics, very good. That is the rules we live by. Does not allow A&Ps to perform any major alterations or repairs. And most everything is about a major alteration or repair. The most I would really do to a prop would be a refinish, paint refinish, minor nick repair, but not much more than that. It's just, there's just too much stress on a propeller. And I've worked with some A&Ps who have been in the business for a very, very long time, and they actually, they weren't afraid to do anything. But when it came to prop, it was like, nope, you call the prop shop. You don't touch it. Everything you do, you call a prop shop because they have better manuals, better data, know what they're doing, repair stations.
Can you take them off?
Yes, take them off, put them back on. Of course, that's not a major alteration repair. So you can always take them off, always put them on. Let me see. So who can perform major alterations or repairs on props? A certified propeller repair station, because just the word repair station doesn't mean that you are. So there are instrument repair stations, there are propeller repair stations, there's airframe repair stations, there's, it's on your license, your repair station license tells you what you can and can't do. Let's see, we should put some of this stuff. Wash props with fresh water after salt spray. Isn't that a Q&A? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I wrote it. What kind of wash should you use on propellers? They make a special type of wash for propellers. Tim, what is that called? Prop wash. There you go. Joke. That's the wind that comes off the prop is called the prop wash. Wash props with mild soap and water before inspections. All right, if you have minor damage, can be repaired. Follow the manual. All right, the problem with manuals here is that most shops really don't own the propeller manuals. It's just something, I don't know what it is. It's just the way it usually goes. So a lot of A&Ps default back to 4313. But AC 4313 should be used when you have the manual and it doesn't state what it is you're looking for. So if you had a propeller manual and it's a very old propeller and it's a very thin manual that just says, like the manual actually that you guys are using over in the lab, really, actually, I'm sorry, that one does say stuff. Some of the older manuals say nothing about repairs. Well, then you can go to 4313. Otherwise, get the manual for that particular item and follow it exactly. I have some old manuals I need to bring across the street and show you guys on some props, and they're really cool. But follow the manual for the repairs. I don't want to give you any specifics because it's going to be depend on the manual. But basically, what it is, you can blend out minor rock chips and dings. In fact, when you're doing an inspection or a pre-flight on an aircraft, I always run my hand down the leading and trailing edges to feel for any sort of nicks or cracks. Because what happens when you get a propeller that has a little tiny nick in it is that little tiny nick is a stress riser, and that's exactly where it's going to start to grow and snap off. And if you lose a section of blade, even a small section, you're going to have an imbalance enough that you can't fly the aircraft. That will be a significant emergency. So you need to file it out smooth. And depending on what your manual says, you have maximum depths, maximum widths you can go, but you file it out smooth, polish it with sandpaper. You should have absolutely no scratches or nicks left in from your repair. Let's see. Often, propellers that have been in service can get a little rough looking. Prop should never look like this. All rough like that. During inspection, it's your job to, you can run a dressing file down the entire length of the prop. Sometimes you're allowed to do that. So you just take I use little jeweler's files, just kind of take out just some of the imperfections on the top from hitting bugs and very small rocks, sand and paint to the back of the blade. What color should the face of the blade, what color should the face of the blade be? What kind of black? Matte black or flat black. I use flat. Why flat? It doesn't shine. You get that flicker vertigo. So little tiny cracks become big cracks. Big cracks become missing pieces of propeller.
Any circumstance where you can drill out a crack or stop it on the prop?
Nope, none at all. How much stress is on that prop per pound?
About 4 tons
Yeah.
per pound.
Nope. For many years, there was no definition of the term prop strike. It was just kind of left to interpretation. But then I think it was Lycoming, either Lycoming or Continental. They were the first ones to come out with a prop strike definition. Anything that requires the propeller to be removed for repair was considered a prop strike, which meant a lot of aircraft are subject to a prop strike inspection. If you run it up the back of a BMW, that's prop strike. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to write something. I don't know what I'm going to write. I'm going to write something about wood props. Anytime you get elongated bolt holes in wood props or any type of prop, that's bad. Cause for rejection. So elongated bolt holes, cause for rejection. I think one of your Q&As is what happens if you have a little bit of damage to a blade and you have to remove a little bit of one blade. Do the same to the other. The hard part is damaging the other blade the same as that one was, but I don't know. Be careful when you're refinishing, adding varnish or paint or anything, because why? The imbalance. Well, if you get an imbalance, what do you do with the heavy blade?
Nothing with the heavy.
Yeah, nothing. Put more paint on the light one. That's what you do. All right, let's see. Some maintenance ideas. Well, that's what we're talking about. Of course, under maintenance, I always check. I know it's not the prop thing, but always check. RPM for accuracy. I say it often, so it must be really important to me. They're usually off. And so always check that. Juan brought in his Hartzell book out of his aircraft, and it has a chart in there for overspeed limitations. So not only do you have overspeed limitations on your engine, but you have overspeed limitations on your prop. The prop is well outside of the engine. By the time you've oversped the engine, oversped the prop, you've really oversped the engine. Let's see, check for accuracy of the tack. I talked about wood props. Always make sure that, let me see, wood props require delicate maintenance. Wood props, last I looked, they're $1,600 to $2,000 for a low horsepower prop. That's pretty cheap for anything for an airplane. Obviously, you'd inspect for cracks, delamination, dents, warping, damaged bolt holes, crushed mounting areas. You guys should be getting kind of familiar with, just basic nomenclature like that. If you do have a prop that's been crushed a little bit, it's a little crooked, how would you fix that?
Buy a new one.
Repair station. I'd send it to repair station. You can add shims in some cases to the back of the propeller to realign it. I have never done that, but I've taken apart some aircraft propellers, removed them, and there's shims going halfway around the flange on the crushed side. So let's see. Varnish as needed. Face is flat black. Check torque. Oh, here we go. The torque for an AN4 is only 140 inch-pounds. That is not much for a prop. And I check it every 25 to 50 hours. Let's see. Check wood prop. Torque. 25 to 50 hours. So that's every oil change, really. Let's see. This is my favorite torque. If you were installing a ground adjustable prop, like the one that you guys are working on the front of a Stearman aircraft, would you care to guess what the torque is? Well, I will quote a man of approximately 175 pounds using a 31-inch rod. So, I need a man of approximately 175 pounds. Does anybody in here qualify?
I'm your guy. Carry it.
Huh?
I'm your guy.
Yeah, all right. So there is somebody who is going to be very useful and have a long career installing Stearman props. We have a calibrated man with a 31-inch rod. I don't.
What do you just hang on it or something? Or?
Oh yeah, there's a movie I may show it, not in this segment, but another one, and you actually see the guy bouncing on it. So anyway, that's about 450 foot-pounds, by the way. And after I install that, what would I want to do? Safety wire. Yeah, check tracking is the thing I was looking for. Oh boy. Okay. So much to talk about, so little time. All right, so we have balance. Here we go from current slide. Balancing. All right, so there's vertical and horizontal balance. There's static and dynamic balancing. This is static balancing. Notice there's no aircraft involved, which means that you would actually take the prop off, put it on, these are called, this is actually a prop balancer. These are the knives. And so you'd put the prop on, and if I want to check vertical balance, I'm going to put it vertically. And I'm going to see if it stays that way. And if it doesn't, it's out of vertical balance. If I want to check horizontal balance, I'll put it this way. And if it does not stay that way, it's out of horizontal balance. And the reason why it can get that way, well, of course, you got to be careful. You got to do it both ways, because if this blade is really, really heavy, it'll stay down there and you won't have any problems. So you got to check it in both ways. But if your hub is a little heavier in this area, it'll tend to want to rotate a little bit, or actually I say in this area, especially in this area, it'll want to rotate and then go horizontal. And if you have one blade that's heavier, it's going to rotate down. So you have to do this in a room that has no air, and you have to check it in both ways. So check it this way, and then you rotate it 180, check it, vertical, put this blade up, then put this blade down, back and forth. If you have a 3-bladed, then you're going to check it that way. So that's a static balance. Dynamic balance, so first you'd want to do it statically and make sure that the prop is statically balanced. If it's not, depends on the type of propeller. Some propellers have a little screw holes where you can mount some little plates and bring it back in balance. Some props you are supposed to actually use some lead wool and mount lead wool in places, or solder, add solder to it. Some propellers actually have hollow bolts that are in this area that are hollow, and you can stuff lead wool inside of that hollow bolt and put a little cap on it. So there's all different kind of ways you can balance them, but once they are statically balanced, then you can put it on an aircraft and dynamically balance. And what that does is you actually install the prop, put it on the engine, and you run the engine, so you're balancing the engine and the prop together. And it's a little machine that has an accelerometer on there, and it figures out exactly how the aircraft is shaking, and a little strobe that figures out which blade is the light blade, and then you would add some weight to it. And you hopefully get a chance to do that in second year. So, what's one thing about balancing in RPM?
Increases the
Yep, if it's out of balance, it'll increase with RPM. Well, let's see. We got that. Talked about maintenance and painting, and you should not let your props look like this. This is out of 6581. Certified mechanic may perform supervised maintenance, preventive maintenance, alteration aircraft. Just write all that down real quick. What's the keywords in here? May perform
Direct supervision.
or supervise the maintenance, preventative maintenance, or alteration. Notice it did not say supervise an inspection. You cannot delegate inspections. Or appliance or part thereof which he is rated, but excluding, this means you may not, do major repairs to or major alterations of propellers. So right there is the law. The federal law says you cannot do major alterations to propellers. Also says, and any repair to or alteration of instruments. If you're hung up on the word any, I can define that for you. It means all of them. May not supervise the maintenance, preventive maintenance, alteration. Oh yeah, you can't. I forgot. That's the rest of it. Can't do it unless you have. Have you guys read this section before? This is your law that you will in second year again, but you cannot do anything for which you're rated unless you have satisfactorily performed the work concerned in an earlier date. So don't be out in the field doing something and say, well, I've never done this before, but I do have an A&P. A&P doesn't cover that. You have to do the work at an earlier date or show the ability to perform it to the administrator. Who's the administrator? FA. So you're welcome to go to the FA office, make an appointment, walk in there and tell them that you would like to do something, you've never done it before, and see how well that goes. First of all, they're probably shocked that you actually read this and knew enough to do that, which might just get you permission. All right.
Yeah, this guy's good.
What's that? Please don't mention my name. FAR 43 Appendix A. What is 43 Appendix A? Without looking at the screen. It's your major list of major alterations and repairs. So what are some propeller major alterations? They are change of blade design, hub design, governor control design, installation of prop governor feathering system. So that means if you have a fixed pitch and you decide that you want to install a prop governor and feathering system, don't. Installation of prop propeller governor or feathering system. Oh, do you want to install the system? Installing de-ice systems, installing parts not approved. Major repairs. Any repair to or straightening of steel blades. So any repair. So what happens if you have a steel blade that has a little nick in it? Can you do that? I mean, 4313 tells you how to blend out nicks and stuff like that, right?
Most most of them are aluminum anyway, right?
Most of them are aluminum. The propeller that you guys are working on, that you will do the ground adjustable, those are steel blades. Thing about steel blades is they're hollow. So, when in doubt, what is that word? Any repair. So if you blend out a nick, would that be considered an any repair?
Yes.
It does to me. So if you get a nick in a metal prop, it goes to repair. It goes out. Repairing, machining steel blades, shortening of blades. So even though there's a Q&A question, what do? You shorten the other side. Don't do it. Retipping of wood props. That's putting that metal edging on. Don't do it. Replacement of outer laminations on fixed pitch wood. I wouldn't be doing that. Repairing of elongated bolt holes in the hub of fixed prop. If you have elongated bolt holes, take it to repair station. And they work. Repairs to composite blades, composition blades. So can you do any repairs to the? Yeah. Watch out. R172's had a repair done to it.
It doesn't say any.
I know it doesn't say any, but it says repairs to composition blades. Well, I don't know. It doesn't say any, but I'd say it's kind of covering replacement of fabric tip, replacement plastic covering, repair of propeller governors. Ooh, I think that one catches some people. Pop open a governor, change out a speeder spring. It's so simple, just a little spring, but nope. Of course, overhaul. Man, that's a big job. Repairs to deep dents, cuts, scars, nicks, such as straightening of aluminum blades or repair replacement of internal elements of a blade. Once you know your constant speeds, you'll say, yeah, I'm not doing that. This is about 8 pages of getting into something. And this is about straightening blades that have actually been bent. Yeah.
I actually just checked AC 4313 real quick because earlier on I remember that actually the repairs are specifically, it says aluminum propeller repairs. And for steel blades, due to critical effects of surface injuries, blah, 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 and so forth, you can't.
It says that, but you know what? Most people just look at the picture.
Well,
But thank you for pointing that out. So it does say that. So, all right. I like those signs. Yeah.
Every year it happens.
I know. It's like you see. I'm not actually laughing because I'm just saying every year it happens, and unfortunately, it usually happens to younger people who aren't aware of it. They run out into props. So, real or fake?
Real.
All right. Sit back and relax. Wait. What happened?
Oh, man.
You know it's gonna be a good day when they bring the forklift.
Gotta go. All right. I think we have to kill the mic.